We're going to talk today about the 7 keys of self-love. Oh my God. There is really nothing more important than that. I'm going to tell you why. Because even dieting in and of itself, that's a horrible thing that has a lot of negative consequences. But if you are giving yourself free reign to eat whatever it is that you want to eat, and you're not dealing with the stress in your life, it's kind of like putting a loaded gun in your mouth. And who among us has done that? Yeah, I know I have. So that's why it's really important to build a strong and a solid foundation underneath you when you're going through the process of learning how to make peace with food. That's what it is that I teach. I teach women who are struggling with emotional eating how to make peace with food. It is so different from dieting. It's not anything like dieting, where dieting is all about restriction and a lot of craziness. No, this is about permission. Giving yourself permission to eat whatever it is that you want. That sounds crazy, I know. But you want to know why it's such an important piece of this? The reason why is because as dieters or as a dieter, you've had the experience where you are so familiar with saying, no, I can't eat that. I shouldn't eat that. Oh my God, I want it so much. Right? It makes you crazy when you want something and you don't believe that you can have it. Whatever it is, it makes you crazy. And if you really think about it, the whole idea of dieting, the whole concept and dynamic of dieting has so much, it parallels our relationship with the authority figures in our lives. Now, I don't know about you, but if you had an authority figure, maybe somebody in your family or maybe somebody who was related to you, they kind of hung over you and they said, oh no, you shouldn't be eating that. Or do you really need that cake? What's the matter with you? Why are you thinking that you're going to eat that cake? That's like 5,000 calories. And the whole idea behind dieting and it being like a parallel with the authoritative relationships in our life, especially when we were kids, is that it takes all of the control out of your hands. You have no control whatsoever if you believe that your happiness is tied up with what the scale says, what the Weight Watchers, yeah, I said it, I went there, what the leader said, what the diet, the regimentation, or what the regulations of the diet are. All of that is nonsense. When you enter into the whole world of making the decision to say, that's it, F dieting, I've so had it, I cannot stand it anymore. And you see through all of the nonsense, all of the promises, all of the empty promises that, oh yes, all you have to do is stop eating and then you'll lose 100 pounds. When you can see through that, and when you realize, wait a minute, the more that I diet, the fatter and the more overweight I become. And the reason why is because of what I said in the beginning is when you're looking at the framework of depriving yourself, all you want is what you don't think you can have. It's crazy making. Conversely, if you're in that place, if you're in that frame of mind where you don't believe it is that you can have what you want, and you automatically take the brakes off and you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to stop dieting, no more, never for me. then what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to a whole new circumstance of challenges that you may and may not expect. Now, I know that you're scared of gaining weight. And that's why I'm here and I've got your back, because I did that. I made all the mistakes so you do not have to. And what I mean by that is, when I stopped dieting back in 2006, I did it because it became clear to me that my then 10-year-old daughter, Kara, was gaining weight and she was becoming food obsessed and crazed like me. And I realized, oh my God, my beautiful daughter's self-esteem is being shot to bits because she's seeing my horrible role modeling as a mom and as a person who is abusing food. So I made the decision to stop after finding a really great support buddy who helped me. He was a therapist who taught intuitive eating. He was a hypnotherapist. And he taught me this whole other way of learning how to manage what you eat by listening to your body. Oh my God. Think about that. As a dieter, like, put on another cap, put on another hat. Other than, I must be told what to do. I must have like a list of foods that are acceptable, a list of forbidden foods in order to follow them. No, all of a sudden, it's your body that's the boss. Listening to your body. And the way it works, it's a natural instinct that we are all born with. Suckling at mom's breast, it's a natural instinct for an infant. When their physical hunger is satisfied, they turn away from the breast. And if your mom is anything like my mom was, she said, no, there's a 1/4 ounce left here. Well, not the breast, but when she moved to the bottle, there's a 1/4 ounce left here. You have to drink this. And that's where food disordered issues and all sorts of crazy relationships with food start, where other people get involved. When you start taking the reins back and realizing that you have the innate ability to be able to manage what you eat and lose weight, oh my God, that's insane. Now, there's an incredible, fantastic, and amazing book. It's called Intuitive Eating, The Revolutionary Program That Works. And it's by Elise Resch and Evelyn Triboli. They're dietitians and they have so much credibility. And they started the whole intuitive eating craze. Basically, intuitive eating is learning how to eat in response to your body's hunger. And they set out in their book about 9 or 10 different recommendations or guidelines for intuitive eating. And one of them is to deal with your stress. And when I stopped dieting, and I decided to learn how to eat intuitively. Don't know why, but the whole thing about dealing with my stress just went off my radar, and I didn't do it. And at that time, my life was imploding. It was insane. And I ended up gaining an enormous amount of weight and kind of crazy. At that time, I was starting to learn about non-dieting and I was starting to learn about non-dieting and talking about emotional freedom techniques, something else I'll talk about. It's a powerful stress relief. And I created a course for women called Losing Weight Without Dieting. And I was teaching my clients how to use the emotional freedom technique, which is the tapping. It's a stress relief process in combination with doing the exercises, the mindful eating. And I'm so ashamed to admit this, but I'm going to be real with you, is that as my clients were all losing weight, I was gaining weight and feeling horrible. And I never put it together for myself until many years later why this happened. And I just realized that it was because I did not have the foundation of the 7 pillars of self-love, which I want to teach you. It's called my Reclaim system. R, okay, get a piece of paper, something to write with. R is about responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for your life. No matter what's going on, you may not have a lot of choices, and you may feel like you're up against the wall, or you're in a situation where you can't get out and you feel victimized. I get that. I know what that's like. Coming from a background history of sexual abuse, I know what it feels like to be powerless. But here's the thing that you don't know, is that you can choose how you want to see the situation. For years, I looked at my experience with sexual abuse as like my cross to bear, my curse, all sorts of other things. And from the moment when I learned how to do tapping and somebody taught me, well, actually, I was having a panic attack. Somebody kind of came to my rescue and helped me to deal with my panic attack. After that, within 10 minutes, I realized, wow, I completely see this experience differently. It became my gem because it made me aware of the potential to give to you. I work specifically with women after abuse survivors. And the reason why is because I have a deep empathy and an understanding for women with challenges around their body and feeling safe and food. And that's why it's so important. And you're going to keep on hearing me say self-compassion, be kind to yourself, be good to yourself, listen to yourself. All right. So take responsibility for your life. That doesn't always mean liking what you've got on your plate, but making the most of it, reframing it, changing the way that you see it. E, embrace your emotions. Nobody said you have to feel good about what you got going on. But the other thing is, if you don't express what's going on in your feelings and your emotions, you're going to end up overeating. You'll be doing any number of self-sabotaging behaviors. Overspending, spending too much time on the internet, getting into arguments, all sorts of crazy things that we do. That's why it's so important to kind of slide right into C of reclaim, and that's cope with your stress. Because basically your emotions are chemicals in your body. And when you cope with your stress, when you use the stress relief techniques like the tapping, the emotional freedom technique that I teach you, you could follow along. What it does is it sends a signal to your brain to calm down. It kind of is like it tells your body, hey, I got something to tell you. Listen to me. Let's deal with this anxiety. Let's deal with this frustration. Let's deal with this like nervousness, whatever it is. Okay, So that is first and foremost, is to cope with your stress. Because as I said, if you don't, you will balloon up and gain weight like I did. I gained 35 pounds. As my women were losing, like Ashley lost 76 pounds, I gained 35. So I gained half of Ashley. L, love your body. And that is not just like, being kind to yourself. What I mean by being kind to yourself specifically is to set boundaries. One of the things I'm trained in is neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. And instead of getting all into explanation of it, it's basically the ability to be able to take your experiences and reframe them and see them from a more empowered perspective, changing the way that you think about and you talk to yourself. And the most important takeaway that I got from going through my training was learning how to set boundaries. Because if you're a woman who has dealt with sexual abuse or any kind of abuse, your body learned in a traumatic way that you were not safe. By having the experience of going through life, looking at the world through that framework, every single situation will cause so much anxiety and fear. And if your brain has paired up food equals comfort, then every single time you're triggered for stress, anxiety, upset, good and bad, you are going to feel the need to eat. And as I tell my clients, you can't shame yourself. Because if you shame yourself, what's going to happen is you're going to keep that cycle of shame perpetuating in your life. The worse that you feel and the worse that you make yourself feel about feeling badly, the more you're going to need to feel better. And if your feel better course is going to the refrigerator and eating a pound of cookies, then hey, don't be surprised if you find yourself curled up on the floor with half a box of cookies, crying because you feel so ashamed. Treating yourself gently, that breaks the cycle, that breaks the circuit of shame. And when you have experience with abuse in your background, whether it's coming from a family where there's been mental illness or sexual abuse or any kind of neglect or trauma, you learn to survive by being vigilant and by always being aware of what's going on, by noticing everything. You never, ever turn off. You never calm down. Instead, you're always kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. So you may notice yourself falling into thinking patterns where you're seeing worst case scenarios and you're afraid of circumstances that are occurring or that you're afraid will occur, and you just get lost in these places in your mind where you're just thinking the worst and thinking the worst. So that's why setting boundaries and being kind to yourself, by being aware when you're in those spaces where you're in that vulnerable space where you are overeating, where you are just feeling sorry for yourself, to kind of cradle yourself along and say, hey, it's okay. This is a process. I'm going to get through this. Because what I do is I teach women how to reparent themselves, how to nurture themselves, how to be your own best friend. Like, how amazing is that? Okay. A is about acting to attract, because we live in a universe where the law of attraction is bringing to us more of whatever it is that we think about. And if we're in a victimy place and feeling vulnerable and negative, it's probably not a surprise that more situations in our life come up, giving us more and more reasons to feel like crap. So when you start to get more clear about the fact that your thinking affects your actions, and that the two of them go hand in hand, when you start pulling in the reins and realizing, whoa, let me not go down that path of, crap and feeling sorry for myself. Let me do this instead because it makes me feel better. Now, the I part of Reclaim is intention. And that's all about having a plan, being mindful of what you want, seeing what you want, visualizing what you want. And it's all about changing the frame from looking at yourself from a glass half empty versus a glass half full. Being able to reframe your situations and see them as empowering you. Not because a lot of people will get hung up on, well, it's not true, I'm in a crap place, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what's true. What really matters is what serves you. Is it useful for you to be always thinking about, oh, poor me kind of thoughts? Or are you noticing that that's just bringing you right back to the refrigerator again? Okay. M in Reclaim is about masterminding and getting together with other women of like mind who are of the same kind of belief that they want to change and they're sick and tired of feeling sorry for themselves. So now you have the 7 pillars of self-love by Andrea Amador.